I'm Jason Stevens, and this is the Sandler Training Hour. And this week, I want to talk about something I'm watching happen in real time. And it comes down to consistency in behavior with no strategy behind it. If you're in sales, doing the activity day after day and not getting the results you expected, stay with me because this is the same trap. And there's a way out of it that isn't try harder. Let me tell you a story. For those of you who don't know, I've done a lot of bicycle touring. It's my favorite way to travel. And on one of those tours, I was crossing Wyoming heading west into a headwind. And over the course of that day, I got six flat tires. Every single time I did the same thing. Pull the tube, find the pop, patch it, put it back in, pump it up. 30 minutes, maybe an hour later, flat again. Six flats. Over the course of the day, the weather consistently got worse and it started raining, and I wasn't getting better at changing the tire. I wasn't asking what's the better strategy here. I was managing the emotion of getting another flat. That's the part worth sitting with because practicing emotional management instead of changing your approach to a problem has a cost. It compounds. The first flat was fine, but by the sixth, I was perpetually frustrated. I remember an overpass was in the distance about a half mile off, and this is Wyoming, so it's wide plains everywhere. I carried my loaded bike that whole half mile, pissed off, with the rear tire lifted off the ground, all the gear still on it because it's not a backpack, in the rain because that was the one thing that kept going down, the tire. When I finally changed it differently, I went through the tire itself instead of just swapping the tube. And there it was. When I pulled out the tube and I went through the tire, I found a little metal shard, a wire from the bead that keeps the tire shape from a car tire barely poking through at an angle. And every time I hit a bump at that exact spot, it pushed into the tube. And if I'd changed that first flat the way a tire is supposed to be changed, I'd never have to dealt with it six more times. It's the gap between a strategy on how to fix a problem and getting more consistent at your solution, which doesn't work. So here's the sales question underneath that story. If you're after results and you keep doing the same thing and the results don't come, at some point you have to ask, what do I think these behaviors are going to do differently tomorrow that they haven't done yet? When the honest answer is nothing, that's not strategy. That's hope wearing a calendar. And there's a line from trading I come back to, which is volatility is a lack of volume, because in a thin market, one person moving 100,000 shares forces the price hard in any given direction. Run a million shares through the same market, and that trade barely moves it. So the swing was never strength, it was the absence of volume to counteract it. And your behavior works the same way. Activity in a silo done because you think you're supposed to swings you around without ever telling you whether you're pointed in the right direction. And the tool we use to break this apart is the success triangle. It's three corners: behavior, attitude, and technique. Behavior is what you do, not what you intend to do. Attitude isn't your mood, it's your mindset, what you actually believe about what you're trying to accomplish. And technique is how you do the thing. Behavior and attitude with no sharp technique behind them looks like one thing from the outside. Poor execution dressed up with good intentions. And I'll be honest about how far good intentions get you. On a touring bike loaded with down with gear, you show up like a well-intentioned idiot who doesn't know any better. And strangers give you an enormous amount of slack. That got me across a lot of the country. But the business world doesn't work in the same way. Nobody can see your intentions. And the judgment is there because it's easy to feel less okay than you. The only way you tie your behavior to your intentions publicly is your presence and your delivery. What did you show up trying to do, and how close did you get? In sales, the place this lives is your cookbook. What are the things you have to do every day so that a year from now you're still standing and still successful? Not the roller coaster. You know the one. A ton of prospecting, then great, I can't do this. I have to focus on delivery. And then suddenly I have nothing left to deliver, so I scramble back to prospecting. That loop is what a missing cookbook feels like from the inside. And inside that cookbook is your daily minimum sales behaviors. The one thing that you do, that if you do it, tells you the year is going to work out. And without a clear cookbook and without an audit of what that cookbook is actually producing, you really are running on hope. So audit it. There's a word problem worth solving in your head. I've done this activity X times over the last 2 months, and the result is Z. If that math isn't working for you, the next question is the hard one. What are you willing to stop or change to get the result that you want? Because here's where most of us get stuck, and it's not about behavior. We don't operate in a vacuum, but when we pretend we do, we carry a lot of shame and we beat ourselves up in private. And shame only survives in the dark. It needs you to hold the struggle close to your chest. And in sales, beating yourself up quietly is about the worst thing you can do because most of the people in your life actually want you to win. Strangers included. They just don't know you're struggling because you never asked for help. If you don't practice directness about asking for help, everyone around you keeps going about their day. Their favorite subject is themselves, same as it is for the rest of us. Which brings me to the other dashboard here, the one that nobody tracks. If your results swing because your emotional state swings, you don't need more willpower, you need a technique. So here's one. There's David Burns' podcast this week on his podcast on getting more out of daily mood logs. And if it resonates with you that you would like a technique to manage your emotions, take that idea of the daily mood log from his podcast and point it straight at sales. Run a mood log audit as an on your emotions after a prospecting act, right after you hang up. Log it, what you felt, what set it up, the thought underneath it, and a more accurate way to see the same situation, but with gradients. Do that for a couple of weeks and your emotional volatility stops being the weather. It becomes data that you can audit the same way that you audit your cookbook. And if you can start to recognize that the things that stop you from being successful at prospecting are the emotional baggage that you carry about the thing itself and not the actions, then you'll find yourself with more willingness and permission to engage in the thing that will generate business. And that's the whole move on both dashboards. It's not that we need to get exceptionally good at the things that we do. It's that we want to do them consistently and not default to, well, now's not a good time. The emotional dashboard in your head isn't a real dashboard that you track. It's whatever's loudest. So some weeks feel brutal because the only thing you can see is that short term. And you miss the forest for the trees. And you miss the fact that you might be headed in the right direction because you're busy focusing on the fire that you see. So you've really got two roads to choose. You figure out the right direction and you audit whether the results back it up, or you accept that you're at the mercy of your own volatility. Best practices surface constantly if you're paying attention. The difference between 30 years of experience and 1 year of experience 30 times is whether you stopped to audit the data and leaned into what was working. So find out where you are and then build the dashboard you're going to track. And that's Sandler Training. You found your way here. If you have thoughts, comments, or questions, reach out to us. Otherwise, good selling and good luck out there.